All right, guys, and welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Shadow Mark podcast. Tonight, feels a little lonely in here. We're missing TJ for a minute, but he should be joining us here soon. And you guys are still stuck with the same crap video that I usually post because that's what I got, and I haven't really grown up yet to be able to make a video for the intro. So until I do that, which I've been working on, mind you, we'll get there. But tonight we have a very special guest. I'm super excited to have him on. This will be Scott Fredenburg from Ruck-it Up 4Warriors. And I'll just have you give yourself a quick introduction, then we'll kind of dive into asking you questions.
Yeah, my name's Scott Fredenburg. I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska. I am a 24-year retired veteran, U.S. Army. Did 3 years active duty and then 21 in the reserves. Obviously, president and founder of Ruck-it Up 4Warriors. This is our second year of existence as far as that goes as a 501c3. So, yeah, super pumped up to be here tonight and ready to get this started.
Well, I'm super excited to have you. So what we usually do to start the whole thing, just kind of get to know you a little bit more. What we're going to talk about is just why did you join the service? What was that itch like? Especially what you say, you had 24 years, so it's probably been longer than that.
Yeah, so my father, he passed away when he was 61. He was a Marine Corps veteran. He did a couple tours in Vietnam. So just the upbringing that he taught us when we were younger. I have two brothers. They're both Army as well.
Right.
Just the upbringing we had, I think I knew from a young age, probably around the time I hit high school or shortly after, that I wasn't looking at going into college or anything like that. I was looking at following his footsteps and going in the military. Right. So I am a middle brother of, older brother graduated 2 years prior to me, and then my younger brother was 4 years after me. So, like I said, father Vietnam vet in the Corps, and then my older brother, he joined the Army active duty. He went a 22-year, I believe, active duty career. He was part of the 82nd Airborne out of Fort Bragg for the majority of his career. So then I knew I had to follow suit, once my older brother went. And, I initially wanted to go in the Marine Corps myself. But for some reason, my dad kept pushing back and
really
saying, go.
I can see why, but
Army would be the better bet for you, because he was like, there's more jobs out there for you than the Army offers and whatnot. And so I joined the Corps, or not the Corps, but the Army. And then 4 years after, I went in initially as a crane operator from 1990 through 1993. I left 2 months after graduating high school. So 3 years as a crane operator on active. And then my initial contract was a 2 years active and 4 years reserve, my 6 years. Right. And what I ended up doing is extending 1 year to push me to a third year of active. And I did 3 years in the reserves at that point. And then from there, when I was a crane operator, we didn't do a whole lot. Our cranes were deadlined almost all the time. So I decided I need to get a job where, there's more of a chance I could do my job on a regular basis. So I went to MP school in 1996. So 1996 until 2014 when I retired, I was an MP. So my younger brother joined the Army in 94 after he graduated high school. And he was also a military police, and he did 5 years, I believe, and then he got out. So it was pretty much a family thing that we were all going to be military.
Right. Which is great. That's a lot of military. Seems like there's large military family.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of comes with it.
Yep. So then my military career itself, when I was on active, I did 1 year over in Korea to start off, and then 2 years at Fort Knox in Kentucky. And then following that, like I say, the reserves, I stayed home from basically 2003 until 2001 is my first deployment. I did a
Right.
peacekeeping mission in Kosovo
That's
at
awesome.
Camp Bondstill. We did Albanians and Serbians were at war then, so that was a pretty war-torn country, and we did a detainee operations mission there on our MP, guard the detention facility up there. Housed about probably 50 of each of both, 50 to 100 of each of the Serbians and Albanians. 9-month tour there. And then, of course, 9/11 happens. And then probably about 5 months after, we got called up for our first Iraq tour of my two. Went to Camp Bucca, Iraq. That was basically we did a force protection type, base security, MP patrols, and then things like that. That was 2004. Got married in 2007 in December, and in 2008 I deployed for my second Iraq tour, so it was a month after I deployed.
Oh, geez.
Went back to Camp Bucca, Iraq again, and we did pretty couple fun missions there, I think, honestly. We had one that was detainee air transport mission. We would, for all these detainees getting released from security, and we would escort them by bus to Basra Air Base, get on aircraft there, fly to Baghdad, drop them off, and pick up the freshly captured detainees and bring them back. That was a fun mission.
Yeah, what's that like? What's like the experience like doing that? You know, I mean, we kind of dealt with detainees every now and then, but I mean, not really too close, not too personal.
So detainees, it takes. Okay, so I come from a background I was in the reserves, like I say, for so many years. My civilian job at the time, while I was in the reserves, I worked for Nebraska Department of Corrections for a period of 21 years. So I already had the prison mentality as far as being a prison guard and everything like that.
Right.
So for me, it was easy, but for teaching younger soldiers and things like that how to deal with detainees and safety and security, what came to potentially guarding some high-profile detainees and stuff, and people who are dangerous as far as that goes. It's a different mentality as far as that goes. You got to be ready at all times just in case anything happens. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure that mentality of you have to be ready for something at any given second.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm sure that wears on the mind and on the body as well. Just being in that high state of alertness all the time.
Yeah, for
which
sure.
So many of us can relate to, but that's wild.
Yeah, so we did that, and then last deployment was I believe it's 2011 is I think when I went to Bagram, Afghanistan. So we did a U.S. Customs mission on Bagram Air Force Base there. So if anyone's been to Bagram, it was right across from the Pat Tillman USO, right by the flight line. So we were screening everyone leaving theater of operation or leaving home to go on leave. And when the units would leave, we would screen all the stuff to make sure they weren't bringing war trophies back home and all that good stuff. So people learned to hate us as far as that went, because
we didn't need to make them hate us anymore.
Right. So anyways, so there you go, 24 years, and retired in 2014.
Man.
So, hard to believe. So almost been out 10 years now.
Man, that's crazy to think about, isn't it?
Sure is.
I've done that too. I'm like, man, you've been out for 12 years now, bro. Like, you're getting old at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit. But so I've talked to a lot of guys, most of the generation right now is guys that joined because of 9/11. Mm-hmm. You have a different kind of story where you sat there and you already in. Yeah. You're already doing it. So what's that kind of look like mentally, having that happen as you're serving already?
Okay, so that brings up great question as far as the mentality of it goes, So let me tell you about the day 9/11 happened, So 9/11 happened so I'm working in the prison, system, and I was a first shifter at the time, and so I'm just finished breakfast, clean up, and a couple inmates were watching their TVs in their assigned areas, and they were like, "Hey, this just happened, World Trade Center was just hit by a plane," and so we started watching the news, kind of ignoring the rest of the duties we had to do for the day,
Yeah, well, I
and
think
so then the next 4 to 5 months after that day, there I am as someone who's already in service, and all I'm thinking is, man, so strange that they haven't called us up. You get all these units that are getting mobilized, going to
right.
pre-mob and all that, pre-deployment training and all that. And we hadn't heard anything. And then there I am one morning, I just get the shift 7 o'clock in the morning, about 4 or 5 months after 9/11 happened. And I get a call from, they patch a call through to me, and they were like, "Hey, you got a call from your unit on the phone, and you might want to take this." So I get on there, and they're like, "Hey, just so you know, you're mobilizing for a year to go to Iraq, and you need to be here tomorrow morning, 16 hours from now." And it's like, holy crap, So,
Oh
I mean, you kind of
God.
knew it was coming at some point. You did, but you didn't realize how quick you were going to have to respond.
Yeah, how
But
soon?
there's still plenty of things I had to do mentally, as far as, you know, get this ready, get that ready, It
Right,
was
that's a
just,
lot to do in that short of an amount of time. I mean, yeah, it's coming, but you're like, well, I don't know exactly when. So again, I got to take care of bills. I got to take care of this. I got to take care of all my day to day life stuff. And that's something that I don't think a lot of like guys that are active duty really understand, that like when you're reservist or, like a volunteer firefighter or something, like you've got a life and you've got all of that stuff going on, all while you're trying to do the military stuff as well.
yeah, when you're active duty, you have a mission ready bag that's probably packed and ready to go,
Yeah.
a secure cage, so when it comes time for call up or something like that, you do what your first sergeant says. But when you're a reservist, or National Guard for each branch of the military, not you are not 100% ready like you should be, because you got your surrender
Right.
lifestyle, So
And what's up, Eric? We are glad to have you in here.
I saw that, Mr.
We are
Mello.
always very happy to have you in here, Mr. Mello, and we appreciate it. But yeah, so we were just kind of talking about the mindset that is, this is war. This is happening now. Like I can't even imagine. Because I was like in sixth grade or something. When it happened, I remember like English class and everything stopped. Like
Crazy,
the whole school day was just done.
right? Right.
When stuff like that happens, I can't even imagine just being like on alert for something like this, and then it happens. Like trying to get in my head and prepare myself for what's about to happen. Because like most of us, we went in, we knew because it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't imagine being like pretty much, peace or for whatever you want to call it for the most part, and then that happening and just being like, oh,
Yep. So that was definitely if you're a reservist and you're in, then you know what it was like as far as that goes. So
yeah, that's wild. Like I never even thought about it until you were talking about it. And that's just like, man, I wonder how like different that was from like me being a kid and then being like, I'm going to join the military. And the crazy thing is now there's kids in the military that weren't even born yet, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
When 9/11 happened, they have no clue. Like it's kind of a wild thought. It makes me feel older than I am, which I'm sure you can relate to. But you do all that in the military. You said you went to a couple places stateside.
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite place stateside to be at?
So stateside, the only place I was stateside as far as active duty was Fort Knox, Kentucky, and that was kind of a fun place as far as that goes. I was there for 2 years as a crane operator, and and that was, you know, I was a young kid then. I was 3 years.
Mm,
I was, like I said, I was on active for 3 years when I joined right out of high school. So I was up until I was 21 years old before I got out of active. And then so I had that young kid mentality as far as that goes. And you do your job Monday through Friday back then, pre 9/11, and then you off on the weekends, and you just have all the fun you want.
right.
Grilling and partying with your buddies and things like that. And
Yeah, I'm sure it was the same in the Army. You're
right,
sitting there, you're drunk, and you got
right.
5 a.m. PT or something. You're like, yeah, whatever, we'll be fine.
But I did get a chance pre 9/11 to go to Japan for 3 weeks
Really?
during the winter, and that was a fun training mission as far as that went. So, but yeah,
That sounds incredible. Like, I never got to go to Japan. A little bit jealous. I'm also jealous of the guys that went to Australia.
right. I never did make it there.
Like them lucky guys,
Made
But
Germany.
so, TJ's in the guard. You were in the reserves. What's kind of the difference for people that, don't really know?
Okay, so the guard is typically going to be your stateside military. They go by they. Everyone follows the orders of the president of the United States, obviously, but your guard is going to be people who get dispersed out to do different jobs by your state governor and stuff like that, and your reserves are federal. It's like,
So they're it's the country as opposed to a state.
correct. So, you see a lot of the, stateside disasters and stuff like that. You'll get National Guard units that will get called up a lot of times before reserve units as far as that goes. So outside of that, we still work side by side with, with the National Guard on a lot of things as far as that goes. So
yeah, it's incredible. Hell, I don't think I ever even paid attention to the difference, to be honest with you, because I'm that observant. I was just sitting there and I'm like, I should ask that.
Right.
If I'm thinking it, I know somebody out there's thinking it, But so you did all that. What was it like building the family in like that, that relationship with your soldiers on the reserve side?
Okay, so on the reserve side, prior to all 4 of my deployments, I was either a private or a specialist. I promoted to sergeant, E5 for the Army rank, sergeant, just a straight E5 while I was in Kosovo. So all 4 of my deployments, I was sergeant, NCO or senior NCO by the time I hit my last 2 deployments. I got promoted to staff sergeant when I was on my second Iraq, right before my second Iraq tour, and then sergeant first class while I was in Afghanistan. So as far as what it was like, so I was just learning the stages of learning to take care of soldiers and all that when I first hit my first deployment, and then each deployment after that, then you had to focus on more responsibilities. So the camaraderie that you build is more of a teaching, and from my side as an NCO, being more like watching over as a big brother, big brother to these soldiers as far as that goes, making sure I'm watching over their safety, instead of having their 6, I feel like I'm, as a NCO, you feel like you're more responsible and have more, you have more important duties you have to do to make sure everyone comes home safe,
Yeah, absolutely.
It isn't just your squad or anything like that. I was, like, my last 2 deployments, I was, one I was assistant platoon sergeant. The last one I was a shift NCO, as far like the shift NCO I see on my shift that we were running 12 hours on, 12 off. So
absolutely. So I imagine it's just, well, it seems like you get less time with them. In the active, you live with those guys. You're with them every day, as and I know on the reserve side, there's definitely still that like kinship and that family feeling. So I was just, I was curious what the difference was,
Yeah. So, I mean, you honestly hang around all the ones that, like, I hung around all the guys that were within my ranks as far as that went. But, when it's shift, like when you're on duty, when you're on patrols and things like that, that specific team you have, those are the ones you are with the most and you get such a bond with as far as that goes. So,
it's just, it just seems like it'd be more difficult, like leading up to a mobilization or something, trying to get to know everyone that you're going to be side by side with.
Yep.
For the first time, as opposed to, active. I was just with those guys. They're like, we're deploying. I was like, cool. Which one of them's going with me?
Right. So,
and so you went a lot of places, I imagine, in 20 some years, and you probably did a lot. I know you said you had 2 deployments, and I know you were talking about the detainee thing. What was your favorite memory of being in the military?
I wouldn't say there's a favorite memory, except I would say coming home from deployments is obviously a memory you will, that will always last, just knowing your whole unit's coming home safe and you did your job as far as that goes. But I guess the simple answer to that is just the brotherhood and the sisterhood that a soldier builds when you're gone. Those are my favorite things. Favorite things was meeting new people, knowing that building trust with another soldier, your battle buddies, here and there, regardless if it is honestly someone you hung out with every day. There may be another, like me being my second Iraq tour. I was, I'm gonna go 2008. I was 37 years old, so I was looked up to by quite a few people in my unit, and there's a lot of young soldiers there as far as that goes. It's really neat seeing, those younger soldiers in the same type of situation what I was in 15 years prior to that, seeing the relationships that they're building, as far as that goes. So
it's kind of that parent feeling where you're like, proud of my little kids. I'm proud of you, little guy. You're doing so good,
You are doing great.
Yeah, it's like, you're just awesome. I love this for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the high point to me, is knowing that you can build all these relationships and you can see, like, from a authority type of position as a senior NCO, you look at all these other people and you see they're successful, and that's the type of stuff that makes you feel proud that you're doing your job.
Absolutely. And we all got our favorite moments and our favorite feelings. What was your least favorite?
Least favorite was thought retirement would be great, which it was. Nobody likes to go on deployments. However, what happens when you get out? You're out for 5, 6, 7 years. And what was the pattern I was seeing? I still had battle buddies that were getting deployed to go back to service, go back for another deployment here or there. And seeing them leave stateside and go to Iraq again or to Afghanistan or wherever else, and knowing that I am not there to watch their six and things like that, that's honestly my least favorite part of
kind of a wake-up call, it seems like.
Exactly. You want to go sign up again so bad to watch their six, but then at the same time you have to realize that there's someone else that's in your spot that you were in who's got that mission and got that task to already do that. But that doesn't help you on the inside or anything like that.
Right. So I don't know, I love that. That's a great point. That brings up kind of the end of your military career. And you just talk about how well do you get set for success is something that comes up a lot. I was just wondering, do you see something to that where it's like they don't do enough for us? And do you think some of that may lead to some of the struggles that we're seeing in vets that get out?
Well, I don't know if EA is always going to be a hot topic as far as that goes, and whether they do enough for us as far as that goes, whether they take issues of people being service connected, things like that, or VA disability ratings and all that. But I think, I guess I'm kind of unsure on your question as far as.
So we did like SEPs and TAPS or whatever you want to call it. It's like a separation class when you get out of the military.
Gotcha.
So I'm just wondering, do you think the military can do more to set us up for success after the military?
Maybe after the military. I will tell you that on the Army side, what branch were you in?
I was Marine Corps.
Okay, so you're Corps. And when we came back from deployments on the Army side, we went to these events called the Yellow Ribbon events. I'm not sure if you guys did those.
No, not that I remember anyway.
So basically, the way they had these set up is you come back from a mobilization, and at the 30-day point, the 60-day point, and the 90-day point after your mobilization ends, they have these yellow ribbon events to where you go with your entire unit to this place to where they put on all these different classes and things and seminars that teaches you basically how to reintegrate back. I'm not sure if they still do these now, but these things would teach you how to reintegrate back into the civilian lifestyle and how to prep to get back into your civilian jobs as far as that goes. So those are big on the reserve, and the National Guard, I believe, went through them as well. So I think those were really good sources as far as the reserve and the active side, or reserves and guard side. Now, I know active duty, when you get out of active, they have, I think they were called ACAP back then, and it was it was something in career processing. It's like when you transitioned out, as far as that goes, it was like classes you had to do on active. But I think they set you up for success. But I think the problem is that when you're a younger soldier and you are getting back from deployment, you don't take those classes and those events seriously. It's like you just want to get back because you know how to do it. You did it before, you can do it again. So there's resources out there, but I think a lot of times people just don't take advantage of them like they should.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've never really thought about that. When you get out, a lot of times there's still young kids, and they've got that. I know exactly what I'm doing. Like you said, I know everything, and I don't need help. They've got that I don't need help mentality, and it's just not healthy, to say the least. But we did that. You went through your service, and then you get out. What did getting out look like for you?
Getting out was good. I was finally made it to my 20 years. I was, like I say, I was ready to get out, and you put yourself in a club. You see people. You go back to working full time, and then you see other battle buddies start to reach that point when they're getting out, and you start to, for me, you start to get into higher roles in your civilian job because you don't have those breaks of service that messes with promotion opportunities or anything like that. When you're back home, and I used a lot of things as career builders as far as resume stuff, as far as the stuff I learned when I was leading troops, as far as that goes. So yeah, and you start worrying about family, like raising family and stuff like that. So
you got to kind of go back to normal life and just get it out there. Well, I love that, man. And then at some point you decide you wanted to do Ruck-it Up for Warriors. What's all of that look like leading up to that? How do you come to this decision? Why Rucks? Why, why now?
Okay. So last year in March, I was to a point to, you get to a point to where you have been out long enough, you're still seeing your battle buddies deploy, you have buddies you're still in, you want to go back in, but you can't go back in. So, I started looking for answers as far as how I get reconnected to the veteran community as far as that goes. So what that meant for me was going on social media app, Facebook. I was looking at a veteran page that I followed, and I'm not sure which veteran page it even was, but I saw an event advertised by an organization called Mission 22. And Mission 22, just so you all know, is they're one of the top highest rated and biggest veteran PTSD like programs out there as far as that goes. They raise the most, bring in the most donations, have a lot of support groups as far as that goes. So they advertised a 48-mile ruck march challenge during the month of March of 2022. So the challenge was to, during the month, throw a pack on, throw a rucksack on and do your month-long challenge and try to reach your 48 miles by the end of the month, logging your route each day and logging your, time, and sharing that. And while at the same time doing that, our goal was to set a donation amount for a goal to try to get people to donate as far as that goes. So I set a $500 goal on my end from my friends and family members to try to get people to donate. And after that month-long challenge, I ended up hitting 51 miles. For me personally, I wanted to have a goal of at least 22 pounds in my ruck because of the 22 veterans per day, the number of veterans who commit suicide. So I ended up doing 25 pounds in my ruck, and I did 51 miles, and I raised $578 during that month, which all went to Mission 22. So there I am out there, 51 miles worth of ruck marching. I am thinking every day, out of all this money that I am raising, for veteran suicide awareness, how much money of that goes, like how many hours of veteran mental health counseling is that going to provide to somebody? Or am I saving anybody's life? What's up, Jason? So, am I saving any veterans' lives and things like that by how much money is being donated? So these are all serious questions I'm asking myself. So then I was like, I said, why don't I take that one step further? What can I do if I start an organization by myself? And I kind of got into this ruck marching thing as far as that goes. If I start my own nonprofit organization or something like that, what can I really do with that? Can I bring it somewhere? So start bouncing some ideas off a buddy of mine. His name is Jesse Cunningham. He is vice president for Wheels for Warriors USA. He was one of my battle buddies on my second Iraq tour. He was my lifting buddy over there. I had two lifting buddies over there. He's one of them. So he runs a pretty successful Wheels for Warriors program. And that's for another conversation some other time. Yeah. And if y'all don't know about that organization, please follow
it. We need to get them on here too. So,
but I started bouncing ideas off him because he's been involved with Wheels for Warriors for, I think, 7 or 8 years or so as a VP, and they presented, I think, close to 40 rebuilt motorcycles for veterans and stuff like that. So I was like getting tips from him on what types of things were successful and stuff like that. So I decided I was going to go full bore on it, and I decided in late May, early June, I filed the paperwork for Ruck-it Up for Warriors, and July of 2022 became fully registered 501c3.
That's incredible. And not to interrupt this whole thing, but welcome to the show, Mr. TJ Davidson, aka Joe Mingo.
What's up, Joe Mango?
All right, man. I had a kind of a crazy day today, so I'm here. I'm here now.
He made it now. So we basically what we talked about was his military career as a Army Reserve and his active time and his deployments and whatnot. And if you have any questions, you just chime in and catch up on what you missed.
Yeah, I mean, well, obviously I have a lot of questions. I don't know if you guys covered it or not. If you did, then I can just kind of piss off and we can talk about it afterwards. But with you starting the Ruck-it Up 4Warriors, was that because of the Mission 22 or what you were saying earlier when you did the or was it?
Okay, so part of leading up to it, thank you for asking that question, because that brings an extremely important piece to this. Why I started it. Not only was I feeling separated, but a battle buddy of mine who was okay. Before you got on, TJ, we were talking about types of things. Derek asked me about some of the things which I enjoyed as far as when I was previous deployments, and one of the things I talked about was me being a senior NCO during a couple of my deployments. Watching the younger soldiers and stuff like that who came into the unit and watching them grow up to be soldiers and do their job and the types of things they did. So, bringing back to your question, TJ, then we had this soldier in our unit. He was a young kid. His name, we called him Payday, because he worked in the finance division, and every month during payday, first sergeant would bring him up to the front of the formation, and he would have to sing the finance song for us, so we knew we were getting paid every single month during deployment. At first, he hated to do it. He was so shy, but everyone got to love this kid. He was, payday. Where's payday at? We're getting paid today. So unfortunately, in 2020, he took his own life. So that was kind of a very stressful thing for us all. I wasn't a really close battle buddy of his or anything like that, but I knew him as a kid who brought joy to everybody who was mobilized on our deployment as far as that goes. So it didn't hit home as your battle buddy, but it hits home as the whole unit's battle buddy as far as that goes. If that makes sense. So that kind of was a huge driving point to me pushing through with doing this challenge for the Mission 22 as far as that goes. So so when I started Mission 22, or not Mission 22, but Ruck-it Up 4Warriors, his widow, I pulled her on my team, and she is on my team as our public relations officer for Ruck-it Up 4Warriors. Her name's Rachel Jurowski-Doncheski. So she's remarried now, but I figured as a service to her and to let her know that we are thinking of her. I wanted to pull her in and have her on my team because I know that's something that can help her heal as far as that goes and everything else. So,
anything else there, DJ?
I missed most of everything that you guys were talking about, so I think I'll just kind of
sit in the background. I got you. Well, that's a great point. I love that you brought her in and made her feel, like she's part of the family and continued that. So you have that going on. And what's it look like? Like, how do you get going and get it started well, and how do you keep building it?
Okay, so what's it look like? So once I got the 501c3 approved, as far as that goes, I'll let you know I'm the type of person who I get an idea in my head and I just want to run with it. And I just want to go, hey, let's do this mission. Let's do this event. And I just want to go because I want this to be successful. I want to be. At first I went into it and I was like, okay, we got to raise this much money or whatever. And I did not know at the time I did not have identified who we were going to make donations to, what other organizations or anything like that. But I went into it. I used my own money, personal money, to, drop the 501c3 paperwork. You go out there, and I started printing off T-shirts, and I started printing off like those little headbands that the runners wear, stuff like that. Just putting stuff with Ruck-it Up for Warriors on there and selling those for donation money and stuff like that, so I could start to build the money up to where we could get to a point to where we are going to someday be able to, make our first donation. It's still probably about 4 or 5 months away from that point. So then I started my first event last year in September. We had this event called the Ruck-it Up for Warriors kickoff event. It was at Frontier Harley Davidson, Lincoln, Nebraska, and that was just a day full of. We did a little ruck march event. If you've ever been out to Frontier Harley Davidson, Lincoln, Nebraska, they have a pretty big lot as far as that goes. We had food vendors out there. We had a cornhole tournament, and then we did a ruck challenge to where 2-person teams, and it was 22 laps around their whole parking lot and their building area. So I didn't really measure it out as far as distance or anything like that, but I figured let's throw the number 22 in there as far as the number of laps they're doing.
Yeah.
So we did that, and that was September 24th, and then I started thinking of another event, and I did a independent challenge for Rocktoberfest, which is basically I set that up to kind of mirror the 48-mile challenge that Mission 22 had, but we were doing a 50-mile challenge, and all I was doing was I was advertising for anybody who followed our page to, go out there and do an independent challenge of your own and try to get people to sponsor you at how many miles $1 per mile, however many miles you do during the month, So the goal was 50, but we had people that donated $4, $5, $6 per mile, and I had someone that did close to 100 miles, and so he pulled in quite a bit of money as far as that goes. So then obviously in Nebraska, with our great weather we have in the winter.
We have great weather, sir.
Yeah, great weather. So I started having to think of what we were going to do during the winter, So, and at that point we had enough money and donations pulled in. I was also thinking about what we do in the winter, and now we need to find an organization where we need to make our first donation to, as far as that goes. So I found, I'll go with the donation first. We found a group out of Bellevue, Nebraska, Bellevue, Omaha area. They're called Javelan. They are part of the First Responders Foundation, and Javelan, Javelan.
Okay. And
they provide service dogs for first responders and veterans as far as that goes. So we made a $750 donation to them as our very first donation. And so then we actually have made another donation since then. We did and that goes up to a later event I'll talk about, which happened in March. But over the winter months, we are trying to figure out what to do. And I knew a veteran who I went to high school with. He was a Marine Corps vet himself. He is a comedian on the local stage here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and
awesome.
He goes by the name of Billy Two Guns.
I've got him on. I need to get him on here too.
You do need to get him on because he's awesome. So Billy Two Guns, he's a funny stand-up comic. So what I did is I bent his ears. I was like, hey, if I had a place who could host a comedy show, would you as a veteran want to get up there that we could present and push? And would you want to do a stand-up comedy act and stuff like that? So he goes, absolutely. He goes, we'll better that. He goes, one of my high school classmates who I graduated with, she's a co-owner of a sports bar in Lincoln called Rosie's. So we ended up getting permission to use that location, and the co-owner of that, her name's Christy White, she donated the place for us for free for the night, and I ended up getting Billy, and I ended up getting one of my battle buddies who also does local comedy. His name is James Lindsay. He does this show called Getting Busy with James Lindsay here in the Lincoln scene. And then there are two other veterans who are local comedians in the Nebraska area. So I had 4 veterans on stage that night who were all veterans. So I got up there and they did their comedy show, and we had a really successful night. Sold the place out, close to 150 seats. And
Wow.
it was a great time. So I'm going to do that every year. So
that's incredible.
You can make it to Lincoln. We're trying to set a date for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to, man.
Shortly
Anytime I
after
can.
January, yeah. So then before the winter's out, then we going back to my payday story about that outstanding battle buddy that we all had there. He took his life in the month of March. So the last part of March, I did a first annual Ruck March. I'm going to do a Ruck March for him every single year. May not be in March because it got a little cold that day. I may push it back a little, maybe to about April or May or so. But we did a first annual Kevin Payday Jurassic Memorial Ruck March. It's probably about a 12-mile march as far as that goes. This year, we have a ton of his family members and friends who helped support the event. I got to know Kevin's mother really well. I got to know Kevin's sister really well, and that family means so much to me right now. They are a great family and a great reason why I push so hard to keep doing this as far as it goes, So we only had about 20 people do the march as far as that goes, because it was, I think in Lincoln that day, it was only 10 degrees outside. It was like the coldest, like the very next day it was 30 degrees, but it was like 10 degrees that day. Go figure, that's how it works when we live in this
wonderful. It always is.
So, yeah. So, I asked Kevin's sister and his widow, I said, I think I asked him more to Rachel, the one that I told you was on my team. I said, what is one organization that Kevin really thought high of as far as that goes? And they said Mission 22. So Mission 22 is one he kind of followed as far as that goes. So we took the money we made from that event, and we, like I say, it goes back full circle to where I started this whole thing out, was doing the Ruck March for Mission 22. We donated $1,000 from that memorial to Mission 22 in his name as far as that goes. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, so then that leads us, that's all the events we have actually done to this day. And like I say, we made those 2 different donations, and they're here. Just a second, let me get this throat going.
You're going. You're good, man. That absolutely works out. So we've gotten up to where you are now, and now let's kind of talk. Where do you look at seeing this go? And then to finish all of it, we can wrap up with what's coming next as far as the Ruck marches go.
Yeah. So here's the next piece I'm looking at. So I'm not sure if any of you guys are familiar with the old TV show Sons of Anarchy.
Oh yeah.
Or not. Have either of you ever seen the spin-off, the Mayans MC?
I've seen some of it.
Okay, so there's this guy who has a role in there. His name was Gilly on the show. He's actually made it up to this last season and everything. And his real name is Vince Rocco Vargas. I
love him.
He's a former Army Ranger, 75th Ranger Regiment, and he did a few years of active duty there. And I luckily have got to know him and been involved with got to do a Zoom call with him, and I am working currently with him and Michael Mendez, who is one of his sidekicks that works with him, and they stood up this new organization called Veteran. He calls it Veteran because he focuses on being a better veteran, so he calls it Veteran, right? So they are going to do this over the time of Hero Stock, which is coming up. They are actually doing their own thing down in Dallas, Fort Worth. They're doing a weekend men's retreat called Light the Fuse, right? So we are going to start helping support their program. This weekend men's retreat, we are going to start sponsoring veterans to attend this weekend retreat, hopefully on a yearly basis. That is, like I say, the weekend of the 8th through the 10th of this year. We're unfortunately not able to send somebody this year because I haven't found anyone who's wanted to go. So what we are going to do is get with them, and we are going to pay for someone there's been contact with them to pay for their retreat. It's $1,000 for that retreat as far as that goes. So we're going to be making a donation to them here relatively shortly. And that is only male veterans. So I am also in the hunt to find a female veteran organization that helps female veterans with mental health programs of PTSD. So if anybody out there can find an organization that can be that type of source to where we can donate money for female veterans to go on any female retreats or just any types of mental health programming, please let us know. That would be awesome. So
yeah, love that. So now that we've talked about where you're kind of looking for things to go, what do you got coming up next? What's coming up in the books?
Okay, coming up in the books, we have, you guys know about Hero Stock,
Yeah.
So
we'll finish with a little pimp out to Jason Steiner and good old Hero Stock. But
yeah, so on that day, that morning, we are doing a ruck battle at Hero Stock and also a camaraderie ruck march. So basically 2 ruck marches in one. The ruck battle is designed to be a team competition. It is a 12-mile challenge to where it's a 4-person team. Each member of that team does a different leg. Leg 1 is going to be a traditional ruck march, 4 miles for member 1. Legs 2 and 3 will be a running ruck to where they actually can go 2 miles. Like member 2 goes mile 5 and 6. Member 3 goes mile 7 and 8. And then the last leg is going to be their 4th member that goes miles 9 through 12 back to the finish line. So it's going to be 6 miles out and 6 miles back for the 12 miles. And for whichever team wins that event, if we have enough teams to join, we are going to make a $500 donation to a mental health program selected by that winning team. So whoever, if it's Mission 22, if it's Javelin, or if it's Tel Valhalla, or if it's another one we haven't heard of, if your team wins, just let us know and we're making a $500 donation to them. Also on that day, we're doing an 8-mile ruck march, just a camaraderie one. If someone doesn't have a 4-person team and they just want to get out there and they want to hump 8 miles with us, we're going 4 mile. We're going to that 4-mile out point and 4 miles back. Plans to start at 8:30 in the morning, so it'll be a little bit of a safety brief before we start. We are currently looking for volunteers to run our water points. So I need people to run water points so bad. So I plan on having the water point at the 4-mile point, the 6-mile point, and then back at the end. So I need some volunteers for that. Probably sooner rather than later.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hopefully we can get somebody in there. You
do
have volunteered to do the Dallas thing for you.
What's that?
One of the listeners on here said he'd do the Dallas. He'd march for you.
Oh, so do me a favor. That's not a ruck march as far as that goes. That's a weekend retreat.
Yeah.
So as long as like we could talk more about that after the show or something.
Absolutely.
Let me know who it was.
Yeah, I can absolutely do that. I had to go do some searching myself so I can make sure it was who I thought it was.
Yeah. So that hits that event. Like I say, that's 21 days away from 3 weeks from today. September 9th is Ruck Battle at Hero Stock. And then the last thing we currently have hard line in the books with a date is October 7th this year. Once again, we will be out at Frontier Harley Davidson in Lincoln, Nebraska. That is going to be our kickoff event for this year's Rucktoberfest event. So Rucktoberfest this year will be a go from Sunday, October 8th until November 8th. It's going to be the 50-mile challenge once again as far as that goes. So on October 7th, we'll just be kicking it off and be ready to go as far as for getting that event going, having a good time. Playing cornhole, I'm trying to get. I'm working on. I haven't got 100% confirmation yet. I'm trying to get guitars for vets out there to try to maybe do some little, guitar playing for us as far as that goes. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been talking to Taylor Fryolam from their group as far as that
Yeah,
goes.
absolutely.
If y'all know her, put a bug in her ear. Try to talk her into coming out.
Yeah, I think I'm talking to her the 24th of next month.
Yep. So, but anyway, so that's all we got in the books, and I'm still setting another hard date for our, like I say, our comedy show coming up here. We called it "That's Rucking Funny" because I that's funny.
I was going to ask when your comedy special is.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's going to be sometime, hopefully in January, at Billy Diekman, Billy Two Guns. He agrees with right after the holidays. They're trying to throw them in. So we'll once we get something set in stone, I'll be definitely passing on and updating our social media page and stuff like that. So
yeah, I love that. I need to make sure that I keep up with that because that's something I'd love to go to for sure.
It's a blast, man.
It sounds like it would be. You got 4 friends that are comedians, so I was wondering when you were going to start your comedian career.
That ain't gonna happen anytime soon. So the funny thing is, Billy Diekman, he was like, "Hey, if you're in the military, I know your ass knows how to be funny because think of all those times you play pranks on your battle buddies and this and that and some of the stuff that you hear." I was like, you're probably right, but
you have to. You learn to have a sense of humor.
You do have a sense of humor, and so there's this one dude. I'll tell you right now, if you want to look up a funny ass comedian, sorry for the language.
Oh, you're fine.
His name is Terrence Gawith. He was one of the veterans who was on my show that night. He is that guy who, this day and age where a lot of his jokes have that, where he says the joke and you look around and you're like, oh no. Shit, can he say that? But inside you're like, that's the funniest stuff I've ever heard, Yeah, that guy is raw and he has a lot of good stuff, look him up.
How you spell his last name?
Gawith. Gawith.
Yeah, I was totally close.
Okay, so what I'll do, Derek, is I'll send you a link to some of his stuff as far.
That'd be awesome, man.
I'm not sure what all he has out there, but he does shows all over the place in the Nebraska area. And if you see he has any shows coming up, yeah, you need to go. I'll go with you.
Yeah, I'd love to, man. That'd be awesome. So. And yeah, kind of a broken pen crayon tonight. The crayon can't spell things very well. That may be my fault. But no, so let's go. We'll wrap this up. How we end every show is what you take from tonight's show. And TJ can't really talk. And he missed half the show. So I guess I'll let you go, Scott.
Okay, so I learned something different from every show. This is my 5th podcast I've been on. I appreciate opportunities to be on shows, and I appreciate being able to get the opportunity to network more and to expand our footprint more, as far as that goes.
Absolutely.
So TJ and Derek, I appreciate you guys both having me on. I appreciate not only from this is it seems like every time I'm on a new podcast, there's a new veteran organization or a new point of contact out there that jumps into my lap who I can start to resource off of and use to bond with as far as that goes. So that's one thing I'm hoping to get from this more than anything, and to be able to expand our footprint.
Absolutely. That's we're on the same mission, man. That's what we believe in. We believe in one war, one fight, man. And that's why we all think we need to work together and we need to be a team and bring that camaraderie back. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of my big takeaway from the show tonight too, man. It's just that camaraderie, and you're out there doing great things. You're doing so amazing with what you've done so far. You're still young into the nonprofit world and you're already rocking it. And I love seeing everything you're doing right now. I love getting to see your apparel out there now, and it's growing, and getting to share it with everybody. It's just been fun. So
Yeah, can I say one more thing here really quick? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to tell you to pimp all your locations and give us your roundup, man.
That's what I was gonna say. We do have a set of T-shirts that we just recently advertised. Kind of tonight, everyone kind of missed the cutoff to actually order those because I already placed the order, which will be in August 28th. However, if you are out at Hero Stock, we will have some of our new shirts, the black, the green, and the white ones out there. On the front, they are our Ruck-it Up for Warriors logo, with the Ruck-it Up for Warriors. On the back, there's a U.S. flag with a green ribbon, and it says Veteran Suicide Awareness starts with you. So I got 3 colors of that. I'll have a couple of each size out there. I have challenge coins with our logo on the front, full color on the front. And on the back, it has a little saying around the outside, like a little quote around the outside, on a quote that my team and I came up with. You have to look at our social media page because I don't really have the quote with me at the time. It has something to do with, one day you will learn to tell somebody, you'll be someone's survival guide. You'll be able to tell a story, be someone's survival guide. These coins also have like the four areas of what we feel is strong as far as mental health, healing and stuff like that. And then we also have these rubberized wristbands I made, for your everyday reminder, Ruck-it Up for Warriors, Veteran Suicide Awareness. On the inside, there's a little inscription that said "Your life matters." These are all available for donation purchases and things like that. So, and if you have any badass designs you can help me with for future shirt designs, anybody, if you're an artist, you come across some things. I want to design, if anyone can think of a good design for me for a Red Friday shirt. Right now, I have a red shirt that I wear, but I don't have one specifically made for a Red Friday. So if anyone can help me think of a good design for our logo on the front and a Red Friday or something like that, hit me up. I'd love for your help.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And you got any websites where people can find you?
Don't really have a website yet. I've been dragging my feet on that. It's like I've been focusing more on the ruck battle, Hero Stock and stuff coming up. But I'm working with a guy who was putting the finishing touches on our website. I just kind of dropped the ball on getting responses through him because I've been so busy. But it's about time for me to get that up and finished so we can get the website. But we are on Facebook, Ruck-it Up for Warriors on there. We are also on both Twitter and Instagram. But I do most of the work on Facebook as far as that goes, and that's where we have the biggest following. So if you're going to follow us for now, I'm just starting to expand into Instagram and Twitter, but you're going to follow us.
Social media beast.
Yeah, Facebook is our number one thing right now.
I love that. That being said, you guys know where to find us if you're watching right now, but we are on Instagram somewhere, I believe. We are on Facebook, Society of Misfits. If you want to join the group, please join the group. We have a good time. We share some dank ass memes and we have fun. We're on YouTube. Be sure to check out the videos. If you're listening to audio, check out the videos. We're over on YouTube. You can find us at Shadow Mark Podcast. And if you watch this and you like it, man, give us a like, give us a 5-star review. That helps us jump up the numbers. And then as well, I mean, if you guys have stuff that you think we can do better, if you have advice, send it into us because we can't grow if we don't have your guys' advice on how we can do better. So that being said, Scott, thank you so much for taking the time tonight to talk to us and everything that you've done tonight and everything you've done for everyone up till now. And we look forward to getting to see what you do. We're looking forward to seeing you at Hero Stock. We're going to be there. So until next time, guys, we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.